It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. We're on X, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You find us everywhere. Also, go subscribe to us on YouTube. Give a follow to the channel. Like the videos. Leave a comment on the videos. Let us know what you want to see. And this is the Pirates Show. This is the first show of the week, and unfortunately, we can't talk about a lot of wins, but there was a couple more than what we talked about a couple weeks ago or a week ago. So, you know, in their last six, they are 2-4 in the past week.
Last 6, yeah, 4-6 in their last 10 as well. So, however you want to look at
it. I'm just talking about like the ones we're covering since we last spoke. 2-6 or 2-4 in their last 6 since we last spoke, and
something big's happened since we last spoke, though.
Something big did happen. Paul Skenes made his Pirates debut, which we will get into. But yeah, still pretty down overall Pirates episodes.
Yeah, we'll get into they have started to hit the ball a little bit better. I hope that's a sign of things to come. We're going to talk about that crazy Paul Skenes start. If you're watching on YouTube, I went back to literally just the mustache because of Paul Skenes start. Like, if you should never have to question how dedicated of a fan I am of my teams. Paul Skenes was starting Saturday, so Saturday morning I shaved just a mustache, just to feel like I was part of that, even more so than I was going to be. So yeah, I was very excited about that. Actually, speaking of Paul Skenes, his next start will be on Friday, and ending on Friday, we're running a giveaway right now. We're gonna give away a free shirt from our guys at Game Changers, whether it's Jared Jones or Paul Skenes. You get to pick which one you want. And actually, you know what? Take it away, other version of me. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out.
Wow.
That was Smitty.
There we go. That was good. That was a trial run.
Yeah, let's just start being the way that we run those from now on with now that we have multiple sponsors of the show, which is awesome, by the way. If you are interested in partnering up with us, please reach out to us. We still have some opportunities available. But yeah, our friends over at Game Changers, we're partnering up with them to give away one of their shirts. They just came out with Jared Jones and Paul Skenes designs. Be sure to check those out. I'll actually put the link to both of those in the description of this show specifically, just so you guys can see. And again, we're running a giveaway right now on our X page to give away one of those that ends on Friday, just because that's Paul Skenes' next start. Very cool shirts. I got both of them on the way, so shout out to Game Changers for getting those out to me as well. Super excited about it. But yeah, go save yourself $10. People probably aren't going to want to buy one right now. They're going to be like, let me see if I win this giveaway first, and then we'll see if I'm going to buy one. But if you don't win the giveaway, go save yourself $10 at least using code AT412 over there at gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Okay, let's get down to business now with this team. Paul Skenes start, by the way. I was there in attendance on Saturday. Absolutely electric. I don't know that I felt that place hang on every pitch the way that it was since the wild card games. Like, since this was a playoff team. Like, I legitimately felt like that was the type of atmosphere we're talking about. Every single pitch, the crowd was riding with it. If it was, no matter where, you can't tell from most of the seats in the stadium whether it's a ball or strike. Nobody cared. They were booing if it was a ball. They were celebrating if it was a strike, standing up every time that there was 2 strikes on the count. I mean, it was just like an atmosphere you don't typically get in a random day in May. But Paul Skenes definitely brings that type of energy, brings those types of vibes to this club. And I guess the hope now is just that carries over, right? I mean, I feel like we got the starting pitching to be able to be a better team than where we're at right now in the standings. When you talk about Jared Jones, Paul Skenes now, Mitch Keller. I know Martin Perez got knocked around the yard a little bit today. 5 home runs given up for him against the Brewers this afternoon. But that's not indicative of who he's been for the better part of the season. Bailey Falter's been solid. Quinn Priester, you got options. And we'll see if Domingo Germán even maybe is part of the mix as we go further on down the season. But they have the arms in the rotation. It's wild that we're now questioning the bullpen, and we've talked about the hitting a lot, obviously, as well. The bats are what rescued this game. I mean, did you watch Saturday's game? Or
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I figured you watched Skenes. I didn't know beyond that because things got really ugly. So everybody was very excited about Skenes and everything like that. And granted, I get it. He's going to say he would have liked to have gotten deeper into the game. He only went 4+ because he didn't get an out in the 5th inning. Should not have been charged with 3 runs given up. They bring in Kyle Nicholas and he gets the first 2 batters. That's the craziest part about this is he strikes out the first 2 guys that he sees and then doesn't throw another strike. I've never seen anything like that. To come in and just throw 13 straight balls after getting 2 outs. And then Fleming comes in and walks some. Post rain delay, Holderman's walking guys. The bats had to save this game from being one of the worst losses, I'll venture to say, in Pirates history if they end up blowing that one. Just because of everything that was surrounding that game. So, the bats finally broke out a little bit, and I feel like they have been hitting the ball better. We'll get into the way that some of the individual guys have been hitting, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. So I was there at the game, and I was able to obviously feel that, but I want to know from your perspective, the other side of that, watching on TV, what that was like.
I mean, it was awesome. Obviously not the same energy that you're going to get in the stadium, but I definitely think that you could tell that this was more than just an ordinary Pirates game. Paul Skenes made a huge deal to this ball club, and you could feel that, like you said, literally every pitch, there was a reaction from the crowd. Every pitch, it felt like there was so much weight with the stroke of his arm throwing towards home. And I thought it was awesome. It was great to feel a Pirates game like that again, because like you said, we haven't felt something like this in a long, long time. Like you related it to those wild card games. And I said, like, even a week ago, that this is the biggest like call up or the biggest debut in a Pirates uniform since, and I brought up like possibly like Chris Archer. This definitely outweighed that. And you're going back to those wild card games, to those playoff games, like back towards like a Garrett Cole call up. And I mean, even not just Pirates fans, but like MLB people around the league were saying like this is like as big of a deal since like Strasburg, and he's as big of a prospect pitching wise since Strasburg. This is a big deal for not just Pirates fans, but for everybody. Everybody was tuned into that game to see how Paul Skenes was going to do. And I think that overall he did pretty well. I mean, the 7 strikeouts on the day. I think that some of the control he would definitely like to have back. And that's part of the reason that he was his pitch count got up so high so quickly. Like running into the game and he gets pulled, which, by the way, it's not the wrong decision to pull him, for everybody who is just using the devil's advocate for that and the benefit of the doubt to say like you should have just let him in. Well, hindsight's 2020. You don't know what's going to happen if you leave him in there. I have no problem with them pulling him in that situation. It just seemed like it was getting towards that as that 4th inning was going on. So I was fine with that decision, and I'll stand by that. That was the right decision. But yeah,
I mean, I don't think Derek Shelton can predict that Kyle Nicholas is going to not be able to throw a strike. Like that is the type of situation that he should be brought into. A 6-1 ball game at the time, a guy that you're trying to get his feet wet in the majors.
Well, not only can he not predict that he's not going to be able to throw a strike, he's not going to predict that after 2 strikeouts, he's not going to be able to throw another strike again. So while I do think that there's, for the whole debacle of what happened in that 4th inning, there's some blame to go towards Shelton for letting it go on as long as it did. But I don't think that you could see like pulling Paul Skenes what was going to happen when that happened. But I do think Paul Skenes had a nice outing. He showed his stuff. He definitely has the good stuff that everybody has been talking about. I did mention like the control not there. I would chalk that up maybe to like first MLB debut jitters. I don't know if Paul Skenes is the type of player that gets those, but I'm sure everybody's going to get those, especially whenever you're touted as such a highly touted prospect like Paul Skenes is. That's a lot to live up to whenever you're making your debut. And so I'm sure that it played into it somewhat. I'm not worried about his control at all. I know that he's a great pitcher. But yeah, the start itself was awesome. The game after his start was very interesting, very entertaining, I guess I should say, offensively after that. But I do think that it was a good day on Saturday for the Pirates, and I do think it was a good day for the Pirates organization to see Paul Skenes have the start that he did, even though he doesn't come away with a win or a decision or anything like that. But I do think that it was good enough. What you saw was good enough to be excited for more to come from him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say next was just like after that, how are you not just like almost anticipating and just I don't even know the right words to describe it. Just like how much we're looking forward to Friday. Like we can't wait until it's here just to see him pitch again.
It is literally like after anticipating the home opener after Jared Jones' first start. And we talked about it last week. That Stump said on North Shore 9, I believe, that if Paul Skenes just replicates what Jared Jones is doing, then that's the best case scenario.
Best case, yeah.
And so I think you could make a similar scenario. Like after Jared Jones' first start, everybody was ecstatic about the home debut and seeing what he'd be able to do in that second one. I feel the same way with Skenes. After seeing what he was able to do against MLB hitters, I'm excited to see how he can grow on that first performance.
While not having his best stuff, clearly. I mean, yeah. So I'm super excited to see what this looks like against the Cubs on Friday. I'm also very excited that they did this. I mean, I think it was strategically that it happened at home. I would have hated if he made his debut on the road. It still would have been cool to see him, obviously, when they do come home. But I also really dislike the 6-man rotation thing that they're doing. Pushes all of his starts back a day because it was supposed to line up for me and Pat. We were going to get a suite and go watch his second home start. And now, when he makes his second home start, Pat's going to be back in Boston for Memorial Day, and we're not going to be able to go. So kind of screwed up our plans there with the 6-man rotation thing. But I hate it. I hate it. So, but either way, definitely looking forward. And maybe that's not going to be the
flex. What a casual flex. Me and Pat in a suite.
Hey, he texted me and we were talking about Skenes' debut, and he's like, I want to go next week. This was when he was debuting last week. And he's like, I want to go next week. I was like, well, bad news, pal. They're on the road for 2 series next week. So it's got to be the week after that. And it was supposed to line up for it to happen against the Giants. But now with them going with he's not starting until Friday, and then presumably they're going to do the same type of deal the following week. He's not going to pitch again while Pat is still in Pittsburgh before Memorial Day. So, yeah, very unfortunate. Man. We'll get there eventually.
Goes from me driving him down to the North Shore and standing in left field. I move away, and suddenly he's going to Pirates games with Pat Fryermuth sitting in the suite. Man, this guy. I wonder if he's a season ticket holder.
You have to go watch the Steelers episode this week to find out. Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to just watching him pitch but I still have that anticipation every time Jared Jones gets the ball. Like that's what I'm saying. 3 out of the guys in this rotation right now, I am excited every time I know that they're getting the ball. Like, so that should be something to build off of. Can this offense do it? Let's take a look at what the hitters have done over this recent stretch. O'Neal Cruz, I think, is really starting to find his stride at the plate. Over the last 15, hitting 333, 375 on base percentage, 1086 OPS to go along with that. We've seen the power start to come out. Really in that home stand where we're talking about with Skenes coming up, it felt like O'Neal Cruz was really starting to see the ball better. It's weird because so maybe it was just a timing thing, but it's weird that he looked so good in spring training just to start out the season so slow, coming back from injury, and now is doing this. Like, had he not looked good in spring training as well, I think I would have attributed it to, baseball is such a timing game. He missed almost a year because of the ankle thing. He's still just getting back to being himself. But the fact that he looked so good early on and then was bad and now is back to being good, I don't know what to attribute it to, but I'm just glad that it's happening because obviously he is the X factor for what this team is going to be. Connor Joe should be in the lineup every single day right now. Like, he's been their most consistent bat, while we know like O'Neal Cruz is obviously a better player. Brian Reynolds is a better player. Brian Hayes, who's on the IL right now, is a better player. Connor Joe's been their most consistent bat over the last 15, 270, 333, 901 OPS. But in that average, and I'm not sure about the on base percentage, but at least from an average wise, that's actually lower than what he is season long. And with what you're getting from Rowdy Tellez, like regardless of if it's a righty or lefty, pretty much nothing. Arguably, I know the Steelers, the Pirates have a long history of bad first baseman. They cannot seem to find a solution there Rowdy Tellez definitely adds to that lineage, and he's got to be near the top in terms of this. I mean, I don't know what the expectation was for $2.5 million. I guess, you can stomach it as they were just trying to get a bounce back candidate. But if that's the plan, you got to have a better solution in place for when it has a better chance of failing than succeeding, as we were watching it play out. Because the plan, obviously now failing with Rowdy Tellez, is what? They still don't want Connor Joe to play every day, clearly, against right-handed pitchers. What is the option here? Are they going to bring up Jake Lamb at some point? I don't know, but you can't keep doing this.
Well, here's the problem. Connor Joe might not hit well against right-handed pitchers. Rowdy Tellez won't. There's one that's a certainty, and there's one that is a maybe. How are you not going with the maybe? And I don't know what it is for the 15-day. You have the last 15 days pulled up. I have the last 7 days pulled up. You want to know what his batting for Rowdy Tellez? You want to know what his batting average over the last 7 days? So in the last 6 games since we talked about is 0.
Yeah,
his
well, in the
last 15, 0.
Last 15, it's 111, 143 on base, 291 OPS. The people he's in front of don't even qualify. Like, you're talking about guys with very minimal at bats. Brian Hayes, Henry Davis, who was sent down, only 3 bats qualify here, and then Alika Williams. So, like, it's
Rowdy Tellez on base percentage over the last 7 days, 0.071. He's had 1 walk in those 6 games. We don't do that here. You know what we don't do? We don't hit. Rowdy Tellez does not hit. I love that he made himself into a meme, because it is the perfect irony for this situation that he is the absolute scum of this team right now, and he is terrible.
Geez, scum.
I mean, compare him to everybody else.
Yeah.
What would you call him?
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. You're from a baseball perspective, you're right. It's just when I think of that word, I think beyond baseball. So, but I agree. I agree. He's definitely the low light right now of this baseball team. Brian Reynolds, 255, 309, 780 OPS. Andrew McCutchen, probably lower than what it should be, to be quite honest with you. 250 average, 340 on base, 749 OPS, but he's hitting the ball super hard, like every single time. Like we were talking about this last week. I was at the game on Saturday with my friend John, and we were starting to talk about, like, at that point, man, like, should this be Kutch's last year? Like, he doesn't look the same. You feel like the bat speed's starting to go. No. Like, I think he could right now, if he continues to swing the bat like he is right now. Clearly, he likes being in that leadoff spot. He's had more success there than when they've hit him further down in the lineup. I wouldn't rule out him being back for yet another year next year. Like, I don't know if he continues to hit the way that he is right now. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but if he does, I mean, he's still a good enough player to be somebody in this lineup.
Well, yeah. I mean, over his last week, the stats get even better because his batting average jumps from what did you say, 250?
Yes.
So it's over the last 2 weeks, it's 250. In the last week, it's jumped up to 320, and his on base percentage in those 6 games is 393. Kutch could still hit, and I think that Jim and Donardo from North Shore 9 had a good conversation about it. They posted a clip on Twitter and TikTok and everything that like Kutch can still hit. Kutch can still provide good baseball for you. He's just been unlucky. And I feel like a lot of us, ourselves included, have not really given him the benefit of the doubt and not really played into that factor of, like, maybe he's just been unlucky so far this season. Well, over the last week or two, he's been turning it around. So some of that luck is going towards his favor. So I'm not ready to give up on Kutch yet, and clearly Kutch is not ready to give up on himself yet either. But you're right. Overall, the bats have been better. And I'd say probably the worst part of this team over the last at least week, in my opinion, has been the bullpen. And that was, in my opinion, was the strength going into the season of the entire bullpen as a whole. I thought that was going to be the strength of the team throughout the rest of the season. As of right now, I'd say it's probably the weakest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Bednar's been shaky. Chapman hasn't been very good. Holderman had those 2 walks in that game, but I feel like he's been pretty solid for the most part since coming back. You don't have Baraki. You don't have Dario Moreta. Leginski's just now coming back up, rejoined the club. Who else? I mean, and some of the guys that you could tell kind of
Fleming's
were
been
over.
awful.
Well, Fleming is actually cut. Speaking of cut, Smitty from around the 412 here. And while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app, The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. That's where I get cut. Josh Fleming just got cut from the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's weird because, again, didn't come into the best scenario in that game, didn't look good. But then this game in Milwaukee, which was his last appearance, I know he gave up the grand slam, but there were also 2 errors in that inning right before he gave up the grand slam. Like that one, I know that the grand slam was his fault, but that should have been like a 2-run homer, or you're out of the inning even before that happening. So I don't know, maybe a little bit of tough luck there for him. Not that I think that he's somebody that I would rather have Mlodzinski on the roster. So if that's the 1-for-1 trade-off, I will take that every time, despite what Mlodzinski's numbers look like in AAA so far this season. But you're right. I mean, the bullpen has definitely, to me, been the most disappointing part about this roster, just because I thought that was going to be the strength. I know we had hopes for the offense. We had a lot of questions about the rotation until we got Paul Skenes, and obviously that happening maybe a little bit sooner than we expected, which is great, has kind of eased some of those concerns. But yeah, to me, on paper, with what we thought we had going into the season to where we are right now, the bullpen to me has been the most disappointing aspect of this team.
Yeah, it's done a complete flip of what we thought. We thought that the starting rotation was going to be at the bottom, and now they're at the top. Batting still in the middle. They've been hot and cold. Hot to start the season, cold in the middle, and now they're starting to get hot again. Which, the ebbs and flows of a season, that happens. That's understandable. But then the bullpen, been a disappointment overall. Some of the guys you've expected to be carrying this bullpen in key situations haven't done so. And honestly, the perfect example of what I think of the bullpen right now is going back to that Paul Skenes start and just looking at what Kyle Nicholas did, then what Fleming did after that, and how they blew that lead in order to have it tied after the 4th inning before that rain delay. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous. And I love how the game, and I don't know if it's up to the officials or if it's up to the MLB, and I don't know if you saw it, the lightning strike that happened, because they commented on it during the broadcast, but it was very clear to me that whoever it is that decides to call that game and put it into a delay, whether that be the MLB or the umpires or whatever, it was very clear to me that they were giving the Pirates every single opportunity to get out of this inning with that out, and they just weren't able to do it the entire time. And so as soon as they got another walk and they tied the game, they were just like, all right, that's it. We're going to call this one. We're turning on the rain delay right now, because I would have thought as soon as that lightning struck and as soon as it started to pour, they would have just put their hands up, delay of game right now, and we'll continue this later. But it just seemed to me like the umpires were giving them every single chance to get out of the pickle that they put themselves in. And the Pirates still weren't able to get out of that pickle. And they ended up tying that game with 4 batters walked in. Is that correct?
6 bases loaded walks. Because they came back from the rain delay and then it continued.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
6
absolutely ridiculous. That's what I think of the bullpen right now. That outing is how I feel towards the bullpen, especially in relative to what I thought they were going to be. That I think is what makes it sting a little bit more, because I thought they were going to be much better than they've been.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm in full agreement. Just going down here a little bit more with some guys. Yasmani Grandal, we've seen recently join the club, hitting just 200, 231 on base percentage. He's provided some pop, though, and I think, as long as you get better defense than, him just randomly dropping the ball, tagging a guy when they got him beat by about 4 steps, like we've seen him do once, and also just the ball going right through his glove, which was happened as well. As long as he provides solid defense, I think you'll take that from an offensive perspective. Joey Bart has kind of just I don't want to say fallen off, but I feel like he's not been the player that clearly we knew he wasn't, but he had a little bit of a hot streak when he first started getting reps, and everybody was like, oh, wait, maybe we did find something. Maybe this is the once very heralded prospect from the Giants that we were getting. Nick Gonzalez, been a nice little surprise, I feel like, coming back up. And I say nice little surprise, at least for me personally, just because I'm not the biggest believer in him. The strikeout rate in the minors just too high for me to like. It just doesn't translate. That hit toll is going to have to play, but he's played solid defense and he's hit the ball. We saw him just hit a home run in the last game. So I'll be curious to see, if he can keep that up, kind of find a home there at second base, because that's opened up for him. Jared Triolo has not put his stamp on the second base position. So if Nick Gonzalez can maybe continue to do what he's doing and put a stamp on it, that could be his spot, in short and long term. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. My boy Jack Sawinski did get a hold of one, and I thought honestly that along with everybody, I thought he was that first game in the series against Milwaukee that just wrapped up was going to be turning the corner. Reynolds goes 5 for 5, Sawinski hits a bomb in that one, and I'm like, okay, this is it. Now we go. And again, they've only played 2 games since then. Maybe we will look back at that game as being, in the long run, a game that turned the page. But at least immediately following that game, that hasn't been the case. So I don't know. I don't feel any differently really about the offense than I did when we last talked. They are hitting the ball a little bit better, but like until the results really start to show up, I just think that they're too reliant right now on their starting pitching.
Yeah, they absolutely are. I think they need to get more consistent batting, which obviously they are over the last week or so. But I think that has to be more consistent. And the bullpen, I think, has to start ruining some of these good quality starts that you're getting out of this starting rotation. Because starting rotation to me has been the obviously it's been the best part of the season, but it's just been such a surprise and such a breath of fresh air, because I thought it was going to be so bad, to be completely frank with you, this season. I thought after Mitch Keller, it's going to be bad. And the fact that we have Paul Skenes up here now, and one of the most, you said 3 pitchers excite you to watch. I'm assuming that's Skenes, Jones, and Keller.
Yeah.
And if you those are the most exciting, the one that's most interesting to me is Quinn Priester, because I'm the most curious whenever he starts out of everybody else. The ones that make you excited, I feel like obviously I'm excited for those 2. And it's crazy to say that after one start I know who Paul Skenes is, but it's I feel like more or less I understand what I'm going to get whenever Paul Skenes goes to the mound, even after one start. And I feel the same way with Jared Jones, and I feel the same way with Mitch Keller. Quinn Priester is the one that's where it's I think he could be something. He just has to figure it out. And so my curiosity is high whenever Priester
I know
pitches.
It's been talked about. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm coming up with some idea that nobody's thrown out there yet. I think it was the North Shore 9 guys. Maybe Gary's talked about it as well. But don't you feel like you're kind of watching Mitch Keller a couple years ago when you're watching Priester?
Yeah. Yeah. You can tell has some stuff, but he's not figuring it out.
Yeah, other than the velocity, I don't think is the same there. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if they can turn Priester into anything close to what Keller is right now as a back end guy, man, I mean, that really deepens the rotation. You're really only looking for one. And who's to say, imagine if Oviedo, who we haven't really been, unfortunately, we don't have this year because of injury. If you look at what he did last year, if you're talking about, putting him as the number 5, where all of a sudden it's much more palatable, the starts that he has, because obviously last year was so high, so low, you never knew which version of Oviedo you were getting. But those highs are so high, you take that every time from a 5th starter if you're getting that half the time he gets the ball. So I don't know, maybe that is the way that this rotation ends up shaping out long term. That to me, they either got to trade some of their pitching to get bats, or that's going to be where they have to spend in free, and they're going to have to spend. I know that we're Pirates fans, and it's should we even? It's you almost want to laugh when you're talking about spending outside the organization in free agency. There's nothing else that they have to. If they want this team to compete within the next couple of seasons, it's going to take spending money on outside free agents to supplant what they have on the roster right now. You're not getting a first baseman right now from this organization anywhere. I mean, you got to have a bit of a question about catcher right now too, right? I mean, an outfield spot, if Nick Gonzalez isn't the answer at second base, there's definitely holes on this roster, or potential holes on this roster following 2024.
See, and the key to what you just said there lies in order to compete. Are we sure they want to compete? Obviously, the players do, but like, not a lot that I've heard from Ben Sherrington has made me feel like he is all in on this Pirates team competing, and that's the most concerning part to me. It's just he just repeats the same like mouth vomit that Pirates fans have heard for the past half decade since he's been the GM, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah,
But it's been 5 years.
Yeah,
but
obviously nothing to show for it. I think it'd be. I don't want to say stupid, but like there's nothing that leads me to believe they don't want to compete. But it's like, do they realize what they
are they going
need
to go that
to
extra
be able
mile
to
though
compete?
to compete though? That's the question.
Right. Like, do they realize that it's not just going to be solved internally, them being able to compete? Like, great, you got enough pitching probably to be able to do so, especially in this division. Like in the NL Central, wide open if they can get the bats. But do they realize that it needs to be supplanted from the outside, or are they naive enough to think they have the hitting? Like, there's no hitting in the
Well,
pipeline.
if
You got
they
Tamar Johnson.
think that if they're willing to spend $10 million on a 36-year-old Aroldis Chapman, why can't they spend money on a hitter?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they spent
A younger one.
$4.5 million on Michael A. Taylor, 4 or 5 on Grandal, 2.5 on Tellez, I believe. Like, I mean, you take all those salaries together, just give me one decent player as opposed to 3 bad ones. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be I know that we're only in May and things can definitely turn around within 2024, but like already very interested to see what lies ahead for the offseason.
Yeah, Michael Taylor, $4 million. Grandal, 2.5. Connor Joe is 2.1, which is great for what he's been doing. Roddy Tellez is $3.2 million. So he's more than Grandal and a little less than Michael A. Taylor. But like their hitters, their highest
Wait, what was
paid hitter.
Grandal?
Grandal is 2.5.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I thought he was like 4. For that, I feel like that's fine. That's a fine signing. Yeah.
Their highest paid hitter is Brian Reynolds. But yeah, obviously. But after that, so after Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes, 2 of the guys that you have locked up, your highest paid hitter then is Andrew McCutchen, making $5 million this year. And then it just completely like plummets after some of the guys that we were talking about. Because you have Michael A. Taylor 4, Tellez 3.2, Grandal 2.5, Connor Joe 2.1, and then you're just going down. You just got like a bunch of basically like rookie contracts, essentially. You're not spending any money hitting.
Mm-hmm.
All your money is either in long-term contracts for your top-end guys or it's in pitching. By the way, the highest earned salary this year is Aroldis Chapman at $10.5 million. His is more than Brian Reynolds.
Yeah. That's what people keep talking about the Reynolds contract. Like, it's like not a good contract. Like, man.
Not a good contract for who? Him or the Pirates?
The Pirates.
It's a great contract for the Pirates.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously like it's just because he's making more than everybody else. Like and it's a contract they haven't handed out. They haven't handed out $100 million before. So like you kind of expect him to be Superman, wear the cape, but that's hopefully going to be O'Neal Cruz. Brian Reynolds is a very good baseball player. I don't know that any of us like look at him as like that's the best player on a really good baseball team type of player. Right? Like I feel like he's a good number 2 player on a team.
I view Brian Reynolds as I'm trying to get this right. I'm trying to think of who the better players were on those teams. Hold on. Let me look this up so I don't sound stupid.
What do you think of like past Pirates teams?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's like a Marte, and they need a Kutch.
Yeah, that's true. I think he's like a better version of Marte.
Very different in terms of what they bring to the table.
Oh yeah, they're totally different.
But yeah.
But I would think Let me see. Because I was trying to think of how outlandish what I was about to say was, and maybe it's more so what he meant to the city, not necessarily skill bet. Yeah, I was thinking like he's like the Neil Walker of this team, but
See,
he's more
maybe
skilled than Neil Walker.
In 13, Walker might have been, because Marte was only in like his second year, but like I feel like by 14, 15, definitely Marte was the second best player.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Point being, they're
Marte
not
still lined
enough.
out to end an inning in that wild card game in 2015.
Oh my God. Yeah.
What an absolute bum.
He's still going too. Still going for the New York Mets. What a career.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Very under the radar.
I was wondering, where is Gregory Polanco?
KBO.
Is he actually?
Mm-hmm.
What is the Nippon Professional Baseball? Nippon Professional Baseball is a Japanese league.
Oh.
He plays for the Chiba Latte Marines.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Something like that. Very Japanese sounding name.
Good luck to him. I always loved Polanco. I really wish things would have worked out.
Yeah.
I feel like, not to make excuses, but I really do feel like injuries were a bigger part of that than anything else. Him not panning out.
I think so too.
Anything else Pirates related?
No. Coming up, the Pirates have, let's see. They got the series against the Cubs. They got a 4-game series in Chicago this upcoming weekend. Mm-hmm. And then they have a series against the San Francisco Giants back at home next week. And we'll talk to you probably sometime either after or during that series, looks like, because that's Tuesday through Thursday. So they play Thursday afternoon at 12:35. So maybe we'll record the Pirates show on Thursday night. But we'll see. They have, looks like, about 7 games to talk about next week.
There we go. All right. Looking forward to it. Obviously, we'll have at least one Paul Skenes start to talk about, at least one Jared Jones start to talk about. So we will do that next week. We got to tell you guys also in the description of the show, you will see a link to our friend Haley Wagner's small business, Everything Custom Designs. And once again, we're going to give it away now to other version of Smitty. Need a custom t-shirt, hoodie, tumbler? Stop what you're doing. Don't go anywhere else. Check out the link in the description. Everything Custom Designs, our friend Haley Wagner, small business. She can do all that for you. She even does around the 412 merch, t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve tees, bunch of different stuff. I even got a tumbler from her as well. So go check out the link in the description. Goes directly to her Facebook page. All of her stuff can be found there. Again, Everything Custom Designs. Haley Wagner. She does great work. Can't recommend her enough. Go check it out. There it is.
Go check it out.
The link is in the description of the show. The logo right above Tyler right now, if you're watching on YouTube. Our friend Haley Wagner, small business. Again, she does around the 412 stuff. I got a couple different designs I'm going to send over to her. Try to revamp some old designs of ours into newer versions of them. It all started because Sarge wore that the around the 412, I think it was called Color Block hoodie, where it's like gray but the sleeves are black. It's probably my favorite piece of merch that we've come out with, but it had a logo on it that I hadn't seen in a while and I kind of forgot about. So I had Herb send me the logo, and I'm gonna see if Haley can do anything with it and try to bring some of that stuff back because I missed that logo. So I think that's it though. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you're watching on YouTube, hit us in the comments, of course. Thoughts on anything that we talked about, question for a future show, all that good stuff. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, you can find us there. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe there as well. Follow us everywhere at Around the 412. Until next time, for Tyler, for Smitty, thanks for tapping in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.